What's up, listeners? It's Gavin.
It's Kendall.
We're gonna predict
The
the
Oscars.
Oscars. Bum, ba, da, bam. Thanks for tuning in again, guys. This is going to be a really quick, short one. You know, Oscar seasons is upon us.
It's time. We were all, well, I didn't even have it on my calendar, but I don't know. Maybe some people were waiting. It's going to be an interesting one this year.
Definitely some surprises.
I wasn't quite sure what movies would be nominated just because it was like, what movies are even out?
I sort of guess what's going to be nominated based on, like, the Emmys and the Globes.
That's fair. Yeah, I kind of skipped those this year.
And, I mean, I didn't watch them. I just sort of see what's going on, and then I sort of look at them later.
Well, let's just jump right into it, I think, right?
All right, so the best visual effects, we have The Creator, Godzilla Minus One, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. So who do you think is going to take that category?
I do think that Godzilla Minus One is going to take it, which also should have gotten a lot more nominations. Let me just put that out there.
I picked Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, A, because I saw it, B, because I like James Gunn, and C, they did a lot of practicals on that.
Ooh,
so there's
okay. That's
I
new.
believe has the most prosthetics of any movie. Like, it has that record now.
Wow, that's new.
If I remember
would say.
correctly, that might not be
Then-
true, but that's part of why I think it's going to win. I also just want James Gunn to win. Or, I mean, it's not his award, but
That's interesting. It's under visual effects, but not makeup and hairstyling for prosthetics.
yeah.
All right, we'll see who wins.
Moving on, best film editing. It's got Anatomy of the Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
But I do think Oppenheimer is going to take this one. I think Oppenheimer is going to kind of slay.
I agree.
I think it's going to be that film
unfortunately.
this year.
And I think it's honestly mostly just because Chris Nolan.
Yeah.
And
the hype.
I think it's going to be Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon just because
Mm.
it's Christopher Nolan and Scorsese.
Yeah, two big guys. Best costume design.
So we got Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon again, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I think Barbie.
I think
I
it's
hope
Barbie as well.
I guess I should say.
Not only, yes, I do want them, but I think it's just so iconic. A lot of them are just period.
Costume design is one of the things that makes Barbie so good, and I think that's why it's going to win.
And the general production design, we'll get into that too, but this category really tells us which films are the repeat films.
Mm-hmm.
All right, best makeup and hairstyling, we have Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of Snow.
I picked Poor Things partially because Yorgos Lanthimos, and I haven't seen it yet, but it definitely has a very specific style.
Mhm.
So
It's very
I think
it's very like
that's kind of why I
the
picked
old German black and white films.
Mhm.
I don't remember the name, what the genre of that is called. Originally, I was thinking Maestro because I haven't seen it, but just in the trailer, their aging makeup is fantastic, and they did a pretty good job replicating with the prosthetics to make Leonard Bernstein. There has been some controversy over how they did that. I watched Society of Snow, and holy cow! I mean, I already thought it would have a lot just because of what is required for it, but it's so specific. I mean, I think it deserves it as well. I think it's kind of an underdog. I think it's just because it's a foreign film and it's a little niche that I think it's a little more of an underdog, and it's going to kind of get tossed under the rug.
Mhm.
I think you should check it out.
For sure. Up next, we have Best Cinematography. We have El Conde, done by Edward Lechman. Killers of the Flower Moon by Rodrigo Prieto. Poor Things by Robbie Ryan. Maestro, done by Matthew Libatique. And Oppenheimer by Ellen Mironik. I said Killers of the Flower Moon because, again, Scorsese, no real reason other than that.
Yeah, I mean, having a big name like that. I said Maestro just because they have a very distinct look between their back in time kind of scenes and their more contemporary day. I don't remember exactly what eras those two are in, but it's kind of like a black and white 4x3 with like a more contemporary in color full screen, which is really interesting. Moving on to best production design. So this kind of incorporates the whole look of everything, which includes costumes, makeups, sometimes special effects, oftentimes cinematography. It's all in their set design. We have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. We're both in agreement on this one.
I feel like it's gotta be Barbie. If you saw Barbie, holy shit. There's all practicals. They did such a good job.
Fucking crazy.
And again, I feel like...
And they built I mean, the sets they built for that,
It's part of what makes that movie work so well.
even just, building the sets for that is insane. And it just has a very distinct, cohesive look, especially creating Barbie Land versus the real world.
But I am going to be honest, I think we're getting set up for an Oppenheimer upset on that category. So I hope it's Barbie. I'm guessing it'll end up being Oppenheimer, but I think there's an outside shot at Poor Things because it also has a very specific look.
That's true. And we'll see what actually happens. Best sound. We have the creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. That name is insane. Oppenheimer, and Zones of Interest. Or Zone of Interest.
I think it's going to be Oppenheimer because, again, Nolan, and again, Nuclear Bomb.
It has really good sound. It's one of those big ones. The sound design, again, shorted was Godzilla. The sound design in that, holy shit, so good. Moving on to Best Original Song.
So we got The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot, the Cheetos movie. Again, another
What? I don't
outlier.
even know what that is. The Cheetos movie? There's a Cheetos movie?
Oh my gosh, yes. That movie is about the creation of Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Why? Who comes up with these things? What happened this year?
I didn't watch it, but it's hilarious that it got nominated. I'm Just Ken from Barbie. It Never Went Away from American Symphony. I'm pretty sure this is pronounced Wazahaze. Or A Song for My People from Killers of the Flower Moon, and What Was I Made For also from Barbie. Mm-hmm. We were in agreement that it's probably going to be Wazahaze, and I picked that because, again, the Oscar likes to pat itself on the back and be
really
like, look, we did diversity.
It also is just a good song.
It is a good song.
But they do like
the
to...
Oscars likes to pat itself on the back, which is the main reason why I picked it.
And if they're gonna favor Oppenheimer or Poor Things over Flowers for other categories, then they can be like, well, at least we can give it this one,
Mm-hmm. And if I'm Just Ken wins, I'm never watching the Oscars again.
That's true. I'm glad What Was I Made For at least got on there, but yeah, they don't both need to be on there. All right, so we've got Best Original Score, American Fiction by Laura Karpman, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, John Williams, Killers of the Flower Moon, Robbie Robertson. What a name, bro. Poor Things, Jerskin Fendrix, and Oppenheimer, Ludwig Göransson.
So I'll just admit that I picked Dial of Destiny because I like John Williams.
It's a really good soundtrack. Don't get me wrong. The only reason I didn't put Dial of Destiny is because I don't think they'll go for the franchise. I put Killers of the Flower Moon just because I think especially having indigenous musical themes.
Up next, we got Best Animated Short Film. We got Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, Pachyderm, and War is Over, inspired by music of John and Yoko. Now, I looked into these because I haven't had a chance to watch them, but I picked 95 Senses. It's about a death row inmate reflecting on his own mortality, and I'm a sucker for reflecting on your own mortality.
I also got a chance to look into them. I don't think any of them are actually streaming fully, but you can watch some clips and at least long trailers for them. Originally, I was thinking Letter to a Pig or 95 Senses, but I ended up going with War is Over. When it comes to these short films, there's a lot of really good short films that cover topical, relevant items that I think the Academy is just not going to go for because they don't want to support some of those notions, unfortunately.
Up next, we got Best Live Action Short Film. Mm-hmm. We have The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, which we both thought is going to win. And I think I mostly picked it because it's got the most recognizable cast of the short films I looked up with.
And it's Wes Anderson. It's big names all around.
Unfortunately, you cannot compete with that.
Yeah.
As a lot of us know, the Oscars is also about popularity, who you know, and what you can buy.
Exactly. And that's why we are here to commentate on that. All right, next we got Best Documentary Short Film, The ABCs of Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, The Last Repair Shop, and Nine and WIPO. I got a chance to watch most of them, if not all the way through, at least the beginning and the end, just to kind of get a good vibe of it. There's some good ones here, but I went with Nine and WIPO just because I think it's really going to hit people in the comforting, heartfelt moment.
I picked The ABCs of Book Banning only because it seemed like an opportunity for the Academy to pat themselves on the back, as we know they love to do.
See, the reason I didn't choose ABCs of Book Banning, that I was like, oh, that's a good, that could be interesting. And then I was watching it and I was like, I don't think they're going to agree with, I don't think they want to promote this, which is so unfortunate because it's so good and it talks about a lot of LGBTQ and racial issues, and I just don't think they're gonna go for that.
That is very fair.
Best documentary feature: Bobby Wine, The People's President, The Eternal Memory, Four Daughters, To Kill a Tiger, and 20 Days in Mariupol.
We agreed on this one.
We did agree on this one.
We both said 20 Days in Mariupol. And I picked it, I don't know if this was your same reasoning, because it is currently relevant, and the Oscars, again, want to seem relevant.
Right. It's relevant. It's really hard-hitting. I remember when it came out, everyone was talking about it. I mean, at least on this list, it's a name that's more recognized. It's a title that's more recognizable to the other ones.
After that, Best International Film, we got Io Capitano from Italy, Perfect Days from Japan, Society of Snow from Spain, The Teacher's Lounge from Germany, and The Zone of Interest from UK. So, I want to explain my pick really quick. I picked Zone of Interest because it is in the Best Picture category, and because, you know, sometimes they like to not do the Best International Film. Like, we don't want to give it Best Picture, but we'll say it's the Best International Film, and also it's United Kingdom, so they're basically regular white people.
That's fair. I put Society of Snow. Not only is it J.A. Bayona, who's a really well-known director, he did The Impossible, which is another disaster film. It also has Sergio Sanchez was one of the writers. Not only that, it's a really big story, specifically in South American and Spanish-speaking countries. It's just really, really hard-hitting and impactful. A few of the lead survivors are producers and worked on the story. It's a true telling of the whole story and the whole group.
Now we have my favorite category, Best Animated Feature. We have The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, we both agreed, but we didn't agree on the film you might think we would agree on if you know anything about us. We both said
true.
The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah, and this one is actually a tough category to choose from because we have a lot of good ones in here. Originally, I was thinking Spider-Verse, but then Boy and Heron came out. Also, Nimona is really big right now.
Did you see Nimona?
I haven't.
It's good. I really enjoyed
I know I
Nimona.
need to. It's on my list. But I think The Boy and the Heron just because it's another big name.
I mean, it's Miyazaki. That's actually not why I picked it over Spider-Verse. I picked it over Spider-Verse because I don't think Across the Spider-Verse is a complete story because it's technically a part one. And Into the Spider-Verse absolutely deserved it. And Across the Spider-Verse takes that tradition of like beautiful animation and the different animation styles. And like if it wins, I will be happy because I enjoy those Spider-Verse movies, just pretty much everything about them. But I think Boy and the Heron being a complete story definitely gives it the edge over Across the Spider-Verse, plus being Miyazaki.
Right. Well, and when Spider-Verse first came out, it was such a new take on animation that now the second one's coming out and it's not a new take, such a big global phenomenon, new take on animation because we already had the first one. And I agree that because it's not a finished story, right? We all know it's got its second part. So Miyazaki just being, again, a big name, heavily popular. It was a really big, when it came out, it was a really big, you know, everyone was like, I gotta go see Boy and Heron.
If Elemental wins, I will be furious.
Oh my god, I will throw something at a TV screen.
Okay, now we have the quote-unquote big categories, the ones that everybody comes to see, the big show.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because it makes the other categories so inaccessible. Like, it's hard to find all the foreign films, it's hard to find all the short films because people don't care about them, but they're still just as good and takes just as much effort and artistry. Anyways, best adapted screenplay: American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
So we both said Oppenheimer. I would think probably for the reason of Chris Nolan.
Yeah. I think Barbie is a really great screenplay for what it is. I just don't think it's up against Oppenheimer.
I would like it to win.
Again, I think Oppenheimer is just going to take... I would like it to win. What I want to win is different from what I think is going to, you know.
We're trying to get the most wins
big thing here. Yeah.
Up next.
Best Original Screenplay: Anatomy of the Fall, Justine Triet and Arthur Harari. The Holdovers, David Hemmingson. Maestro, Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. May December, Sammy Birch. Past Lives, Celine Song. I put Maestro. It's weird because it's not really, it's more adapted than, I don't fucking know.
I put The Holdovers because it's been doing really well in like the Globes and the Emmys. No, not the Emmys, because Emmys is TV.
I think for this category, it could be a nice little slide in, like, underdog winner. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, though, but I do want to.
So for Best Supporting, we got Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks from The Color Purple, America Ferrera from Barbie, Jodie Foster from Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph from The Holdovers. I put Davine Joy Randolph because she's been getting a lot of awards for her role in The Holdovers. And also she's in Only Murders in the Building, and I really like her.
I put Emily Blunt from Oppenheimer because I think Oppenheimer's just gonna, wave this whole thing. And because Emily Blunt is a big, great, amazing name that I think it's easy for them to choose from.
Last thought for supporting actress, I hope America Ferrera wins.
That would be great.
Best Supporting Actor. We got Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things. I said Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things for kind of the same reason I picked Davine Joy Randolph, is because he's been getting a lot of attention. Poor Things has been doing really well in acting categories and sort of shutting out, so that's kind of what I think is going to happen again.
I put Robert De Niro because it's a big classic name they want to see. This one I was trying to decide, and I haven't had a chance to watch a couple of these. Just watching the trailer and kind of watching scenes, to me it seemed like in a couple of these, like Robert Downey Jr., Sterling K. Brown, I could be entirely wrong, but I feel like they're not in as many scenes or they don't have as big of a part.
That's never stopped a win before.
Best Actress, we have Annette Bening from Naiad, Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Huller, Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan, Maestro, and Emma Stone, Poor Things. We're both in agreement on this one with Emma Stone for Poor Things.
Sort of the same reason for me. She's just been doing really well. Though I do think there's a chance that it's going to be Lily Gladstone, so the Academy can pat themselves on the back.
They could, unless they give Killers of the Flower Moon Best Original Song. They'll check off their one quota and call it good. I think it would be great. It would be really amazing, but I do think they'll go for Emma Stone.
For Best Actor, we got Bradley Cooper in Maestro, Coleman Domingo from Rustin, Paul Giamatti from The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer, Jeffrey Wright from American Fiction. I picked Paul Giamatti because I like Paul Giamatti, and again, I based my Best Actor, all the actor categories on who's been doing really well in award seasons, so that's why I picked fair. Paul Giamatti also.
I said Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer, just because, again, Oppenheimer, I think, is gonna take over, and Cillian Murphy has been not necessarily up and coming, but, he's been growing a lot as a name recently. Best Director, we have Justine Triet, Anatomy of the Fall, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer, The Zone of Interest. I put Christopher Nolan. You put Scorsese. I mean, it's a toss-up.
I did pick Scorsese, but it's pretty much the same reason we've been saying. The Oscars likes to pat themselves on the back. They like to give awards to the same people.
So this could be interesting.
I think it's going to be one of those two.
We will find out. All right, Best Picture. Here's the big one we've all been waiting for. Drum roll, please.
We have American Fiction, Anatomy of the Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
Now, this could be interesting. I put Oppenheimer.
I think you're probably right.
You put Poor Things.
I did.
And honestly, I think it could be either way. I mean, Oppenheimer because it's the big one, but again, just looking at Christopher Nolan's track record, maybe they go for Poor Things. Who fucking knows? I'm curious to see what kind of Barbie Oppenheimer jokes are made.
We'll see. Jimmy Kimmel's hosting. I'm sure there'll be a slew.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I think it's going to be Poor Things. I think it's going to be the surprise. I think that Oppenheimer's probably going to win, or maybe even Killers, but I don't know, I just have a gut feeling that Poor Things is going to just scoop it out of nowhere.
Someone's going to be happy, someone's going to be disappointed, and that's just the general lowdown of the Oscars, so. Now here's my question, Gavin. Are you going to be watching the Oscars live?
Of course not.
Same. Yeah. Why would I?
I don't have that kind of time. I'll catch the highlights.
The last time I actually watched the Oscars live was my freshman year of college because a group of film club people came together to hang out and watch it.
I think the last time I watched it was when La La Land
I think it was that year. Yeah.
Because that was 2016. And that was probably the last time I actually watched, because everyone's like, what the fuck? And then it never got better. I might have watched the next year, but I think that was it.
All right, folks. Well, this has been our predictions. I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks who wins, right?
Yep.
As for the winner here on the BAM podcast, we just get bragging rights.
Maybe we'll come up with a better prize by the time it's over.
Probably not. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to tune in. You can follow us on Instagram at That BAM Podcast, and you can find us on YouTube also at That BAM Podcast.
Have a damn good day.
Oh my God. We will see you all next time for some news, reviews, opinions, and other things.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.